Welcome to Moving People Forward with Mark Elfstrand. This program is a series of conversations on commonly seen challenges in everyday people's lives. We hope you'll be inspired by the stories you hear today. Perhaps you know of someone who would also benefit. Be sure to share the program link with a friend. Now, here's Mark.
One would like to think that we have taken the talents that we've been given and made the most of them, but quite often we miss the mark in that department. When the door of opportunity to develop and use our God-given gifts is opened wide, well, great things can happen. Today you're going to hear about a remarkably talented musician who grew up in Jamaica. He learned his special skill by imitation. With me today on Moving People Forward is Huntley Brown. He can preach, he can play piano, and he's skilled in at least one of the martial arts. So let's be kind to him today. Huntley, welcome. Glad to have you with us.
Mark, it's good to be here.
Yeah, and you are a native of Jamaica.
Full-blooded Jamaican. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and so do you still love Jamaican food?
Boy, I'm telling you, anytime there's Jamaican food anywhere close by, you'll find me.
And what would the favorites be?
Rice and beans, Jamaican beef patties, sweet potato pudding, ackee and codfish. I could go on and on and on.
And I'm sure you could. Yeah, I wish we had some of it right here for you today. Hey, let's talk, though, a little bit about your piano skills, because you are a concert-quality pianist. We're going to get into some of the places you've performed here in just a moment. But let's go back to learning to play. Did you get some really highbrow music lessons early on?
Not early on. You know, I was very fortunate. I grew up in a Christian home where my parents believed that with God all things are possible.
Okay.
And when I was 9 years old, my mother went to the school where some nuns were teaching, and they had this old, dilapidated, upright piano that was just horrible. Rats inside, roaches, you name it. So my mother decided to buy this piano.
Yeah.
And the lady said, give it to us for $50. So we took the piano, took it home, cleaned all the critters out, and I started to listen to a lot of recordings. But my parents could only afford to send my older brothers to take lessons. They could not send me. So I listened while my brothers were practicing, and I learned to play by imitating them.
That's pretty impressive. And how long did it take before you could actually take this and make it a marketable skill then?
You know, I think when I got to high school, I discovered there was something there. I was interested in marking. I was practicing at home all the time.
Okay.
And I had no idea what I was doing. And then one day we heard a song on the radio.
Yeah.
My brothers came home, and I was playing the song. And they said, where did you learn to play this song?
Yeah.
I said, I don't know. I could just hear it, and I could play it.
Yeah, by ear then, obviously.
By ear then, yes. And when I got into high school, I got offered this opportunity to play in one of the hotels close to the school I was going to.
And for a period of time, you did do that, right?
Yes.
You actually performed in, what, clubs?
Yes.
And so forth. How did that mix with the spiritual side of your life, and what did your mom think about that?
I had a major problem, and Mom was not very happy at all. As a matter of fact, the first day when I came home to tell my parents I was going to be playing in the clubs and the hotels, here's how I knew I was in serious trouble. You know, Dad was home, Mom was not at home, and Dad is normally soft-spoken, and Dad lectures me for 2 to 3 hours. And I'm doing the math, and I'm saying, okay, if Dad lectures me for this long and Mom hasn't gotten home yet, it is not well with my soul. And Mom finally got home, and she did not disappoint me. But here's what I discovered. I said to Mom and Dad, you taught me the ways of the Lord.
Yeah.
Now it's time to release me and let me go and see what's out there in the world. And when I got there, I'm being honest, I had problems. And what I mean by I had problems, I just could not justify playing in the clubs and being a Christian at the same time. And my friends will say to me, Huntley, years later you gave up playing, in the hotels, in the clubs, etc. What was the one song that did it? And I'll tell you, I'll say to all my friends who are watching in Jamaica or around the world, Mark, here's the one song. Bob Marley, he's married to Rita Marley before, he died. Yeah. Bob is now dead. But she has a song called I Want to Get High.
Huh.
And it's a song about marijuana usage.
Yeah.
Now, I've never done drugs in my entire life, but I am on stage with the guys singing, playing the song,
Right.
I Want to Get High,
Yeah.
and I got convicted. And I called the band members together. I said, guys, I am quitting. I am going to play full-time for Jesus. And I gave it all up.
Well, at some point, you had the opportunity to come and study at Judson University here in the Chicago, well, for us in the Chicagoland area. And how did that come about?
That was another miracle by itself. Once I decided to give up playing in the bands, I said, God, I am giving my talents to you. Wherever in the world you take me, I am ready. And when I gave my notice, one night I felt a tap on my leg. I turned around, and this lady was standing behind me. And she said, young man, what are you going to do with your talent? And I said, well, I would love to come to America to study music. She said, I know just the place for you. And when she said that, she said, there's a school outside of Chicago called Judson College, no, Judson University.
Yeah.
She said, why don't you make me a tape? At the time, my kids have no idea what a tape is, okay? but they're MP3s now. So I made a tape to send to the college for them to see what they would think of my playing. And they decided, by God's grace, to offer me a scholarship to come to study.
Okay, and your degree then was in music?
In piano performance, and teaching.
And then you went on to Northern Illinois University.
That's correct.
For what purpose?
I went on to study piano performance and pedagogy.
Okay.
So I got my master's degree from Northern Illinois University.
Okay, so then take me into the performance side of your world. I mean, this really expanded for you in wonderful ways, the places, the opportunities that you've had to play. Tell me about this.
You know, it's truly been amazing. Sometimes I pinch myself wondering, this little kid from Jamaica, where God has taken me. And what I realize is saying, when opportunity knocks, that is not the time to prepare. So I took all the time in the studio, in practicing, getting ready, and then God started opening doors. And while at Northern Illinois University, I went to Minneapolis one day. And while in Minneapolis, my friend who was at a college called St. Paul Bible College, it's now called Crown College, he said, why don't you come and play something for chapel tomorrow? So I said, sure, I'll be happy to. Get to college. Lo and behold, the guest speaker that morning was Dr. Howard Jones from the Billy Graham Association.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Jones was a hero of mine. I grew up in Jamaica listening to Dr. Jones on the radio. And he said to me, do you have any recordings? I said, no. He said, well, Huntley, I'm going to take a copy of Chapel to headquarters. I said, to Billy Graham headquarters? He said, yes. I didn't think he was serious, but he did. A couple of days later, I got a call. Can we meet you? Can we talk to you? Can we hear you play? And in a day or two, they said to me, we have a crusade coming up in Canada. Can you join us? It was just like that. God just opened the door.
Did your heart stop a little bit when
oh,
they
my
asked you
word,
to do that?
yes.
You know,
I mean, Billy Graham was my earthly hero.
Yeah.
So just to get a chance to work with the association was the highlight.
So when did your first album and recording come out then?
The first album came out in 1992, the year I got married. I was working with Otis Killings, another hero of mine, and we decided to do a recording to try to capture all the different things musically God had placed in my heart.
Yeah. Now, the places that you have performed have taken you, again, even to Carnegie Hall. Yes. With what group was that?
It was the World Millel Symphony Orchestra, and they're from Korea, basically, but they have musicians and singers from literally around the world. So they bring people together from all over the world for this wonderful orchestra.
Well, how did they contact you? How did they find out about you?
You know, I met the director at Evangelical Church Alliance convention a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And he said, Huntley, we have this big concert at Carnegie Hall. We'd like you to be our guest artist. And I'm like, are you sure? I am ready. So we had a great time.
Yeah. And that's probably not I don't know, is that the highlight of your musical career? I mean, it's kind of difficult to put pinnacles.
No, people ask what's the highlight. I'll tell you the highlight.
Yeah.
The highlight was playing a personal concert for Billy Graham and his wife one day at their home.
Wow.
I tell everybody, playing at Carnegie Hall was incredible. Playing at the waterfront in Belfast was incredible. But playing for Billy Graham and his wife, Ruth, just a personal concert for themselves was truly the highlight for me.
Yeah, you've also, I guess, performed with the Gaithers?
Yes.
At a Gaither homecoming event.
Did a homecoming many years ago. No, Bill Gaither is a genius.
Yeah.
I mean, the man truly is a genius. And I got the opportunity to do a homecoming in Rockford, Illinois, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he is also a pretty creative guy, right?
Very
on
true.
The creative scale, using his gifts.
That's exactly
like
right.
you have as well. We've got more to talk about, including, Huntley has also written a book. We want to get into that here in just a moment, and we'll tell you about a couple of his albums. And first of all, the website, where can people find out more about you?
HuntleyBrown.org.
HuntleyBrown.org. Pretty easy. Well, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to continue our discussion with Huntley Brown, the Christian concert pianist who has traveled the world and sharing his inspiring talent. More on Moving People Forward in just a moment.
God is our safe place and our strength. He is always our help when we are in trouble. This word of God in Psalm 46:1 says it all. God is our safe place. He is our strength. He is our help when we are in trouble. Whenever and wherever we are invited, nationally or internationally, Lutheran Church Charity's mission is to bring the mercy, compassion, presence, and proclamation of Jesus Christ to those who are suffering and in need. LCC is a ministry of presence, to be present with Jesus, to lift up people in times of joy and sorrow, in prayer, and by passing through donations of dollar per dollar to those in need. Through our canine ministries, we respond and deploy with boots on the ground and paws within 24 hours, often sooner, of any crisis or disaster situation we're invited into. You see, for us, the bottom line is making a difference by being present. For people who are suffering and in need with that mercy, compassion, presence of Jesus Christ. Thank you again for allowing us the privilege to stand alongside and serve others. Jesus and your partnership make that possible to touch thousands of lives.
This is Moving People Forward. I'm Mark Elfstrand, and we're discussing the remarkable life of concert pianist and Christian communicator Huntley Brown. You can check out his website at huntleyBrown.org. So we know about your musical talents. We're going to get to your book here in a second, but just I'm curious, once you develop this, and you're doing concerts, you've performed in 35 countries?
At least, many more than that, but for sure.
Yeah, and so how often are you performing right now?
I perform, I would say, just about 3 weekends a month. Yeah. Now, many years ago, I'm going to share a quick story. I saw George Benson, a famous guitarist, on TV. He made a statement that literally changed my life. He was traveling, he was touring all the time, and he got back home, and his wife asked him a question that changed his life too. His wife said to him, their little daughter said to her, "Mommy, where does Daddy live?"
Yeah, right.
When I heard that question, I'm like, that will never be said of me. So I know many musicians will travel 3 months or 6 months and come back home. I do not do that. I realize there's only 24 hours in a day and one me. So most of my trips are on weekends. I will leave Saturday and I'll come back home Sunday evening or Monday morning. So I'm home during the week. Years ago, I would travel to Korea and I would go for 1 week, come right back home and then go back. Reason being, I have decided that my family is more important than the ministry.
Yeah. So you invest your time, but so that it doesn't interfere with the rest of life.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Okay. How much time do you spend practicing then? I mean, once you know how to do this, you still do need to stay, right? I mean,
no, not as much as I did in the past. No, years ago, I would practice 4 or 5 hours, sometimes more a day.
Yeah.
But once I started having kids, and my wife and myself, we have 4 girls. We have Natalie, Natasha, Nicole, and Nadia. My wife says the next one is called No More.
Yeah, I see.
We were done. So once they came into the picture, my practicing schedule changed, and so I have to rely now on the practicing I did years ago and still try to maintain.
Okay, now you've got, I've got a couple of your CDs here. One of them is called Days of Elijah by Huntley Brown, and then we have Hymns That My Mother Taught Me by Huntley Brown. So did she have a favorite hymn?
Well, she has quite a few. The Lord My Shepherd is one. But that CD, Hymns My Mother Taught Me, is one of my most treasured CDs. And here's why. I went to Jamaica, and my mother did not recognize me because she's fighting Alzheimer's.
Oh,
and she kept saying to me, "What is your name?"
Yeah.
It broke my heart. But then I decided, Huntley, you need to do something. So I started playing hymns for her.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Mom's memory kicked in. And she started singing along, and she recognized the hymns immediately. So I decided I was going to do a CD simply for Mom. And after I finished doing the CD, I said, you know what? I know there are other people around the world dealing with Alzheimer's. I'm going to make it available for everyone as well.
Now, are these the only 2 CDs?
No. We have many CDs online, but these are the latest ones.
Okay, and you can find these again at your website.
Yes. Or just Google
HuntleyBrown.org.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, all right. Now, you are also a licensed minister.
That's correct, yes.
And so periodically you're out speaking in churches then as well, huh?
I tell everyone I can marry my daughters or bury their boyfriends.
I see. Have you had to do either yet?
No, not yet.
I see. Well, it's good to know that the second part hasn't happened for sure. And then also when you are not busy doing all those things, you've decided to write as well. And so here's Keys to Avoiding Deception, Keys for Living, also by same guy, Huntley Brown. Yeah, all right. So Keys to Avoiding Deception. Why are you so concerned about deception?
You know, Mark, this is a frightening word. If there's one thing I pray about every day is that word deception.
Really?
Yes, it frightens me dearly. Yeah. And here's why it frightens me. I read a few verses in the Bible that literally scared me. You mentioned earlier about my martial arts skills.
Yes.
As you know, not too many things scare me. That word does, deception. And what I did, I read Matthew 7:21-23 that says, not everyone who says, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven,
right,
but only those who do the will of my Father. The verses go on that day, many will say to me, Lord, did not we do all these things in your name? And Jesus says, depart from me, I never knew you. So Mark, after I read those verses, I got very concerned, got scared to be honest. Yeah. And I had two questions. Who are these people?
Yes.
Who is Jesus talking about?
Right.
He is obviously talking about people in church on Sunday. And the second question I had was, what do I need to do to guard myself to make sure I never hear the words, depart from me, I never knew you. So as a result of being scared, I decided to go on a journey. How do you guard against deception? How do you make sure you never hear those words, depart from me, I never knew you? And that's what's chronicled in the book.
Okay, so the opposite of that, of course, is to get there and hear the words, well done.
Amen to that. That's
right?
what I want to hear.
Faithful servant.
That's right.
Okay, so you said you began to study this and think about this more deeply. So how did the keys get unfolded to you? I mean, how did that happen?
The keys got unfolded by saying, okay, Huntley Brown, how do you guard against deception? First, I had to define deception.
Right.
And deception for me is believing you are right when you are wrong and you do not know it. It's simply believing you are right and you do not know that you are wrong. So I said, okay, Huntley, how do you know for sure that you're right in your belief system? So I had a meeting. And Mark, I sat down with myself one day. I had a meeting with myself.
Yeah. How did that go?
Yeah, I sat down and I said, okay, Huntley Brown, why do you believe what you believe?
Right.
I said, so let's talk to each other. So I said, okay, Huntley, why do you believe what you believe? And when I had this meeting, I discovered that my belief system was not based on my own critical thinking. It was based on what I learned from my parents, my brothers, my pastor. So I said to myself, but Huntley, suppose, just what if there are things that they taught you that were wrong? How would you know? So I had to go on a journey. I said, for myself, I said, Huntley, you need to figure out why you believe what you believe. And so that's key number one. One of the keys, I said, okay, Huntley, why do you believe in God? How do you know if there's a God?
Right.
You have never seen God, so how do you know?
Right.
So I had to go on a journey to answer the God question. Then I had to answer the identity question. Identity meaning, who are you? Many times people say, who's Huntley Brown? They say, he's a concert pianist. That is not who I am.
Right.
That's what I do for a living. But the question is, who are you? And the example I've used before is Michael Jordan, where people say Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player to ever play the game. And that's true. But he no longer plays professional basketball.
So therefore,
who is he today?
Yeah.
And the same can go for any of us. So I had to answer the identity question as well. And so, you know, I went through quite a few different keys in the book to kind of address life in general and how do you make sure you're not deceived. Okay,
and this is also available at the website,
yes,
right? Keys to Avoiding Deception, Keys for Living by Huntley Brown. So, do you have another one? I mean, what are you working on?
We're working on another book right now. We're working on 2 new books right now.
2 new books?
Yeah. You know, a couple of years ago, my daughter's in college. She said to me, Dad, I cannot find a good devotion. That's before my daughter wrote her devotions book, by the way. My daughter has written a very good devotions book called 52 Cups of Coffee. But I sat there and said, honey, let me see what I can do. And I said, I'm going to start writing a devotion for you every day. So as a result of my daughter asking for a devotion, we started writing this book of devotion. And it should be out in a year or 2. The other book I'm working on is Keys, not Keys to Avoiding Deception, just number 1. But I'm working on a book called Lessons from Bible Characters. And I studied Moses, I studied David, I studied all the different, we call them the superstars of faith. And so what lessons can we learn from their lives? Yeah. So I'm writing a book on that as well.
Okay, so Huntley Brown Ministries is what people can find by going to your website.
Yes.
But they'll also notice that you do seminars.
Yes.
On?
Worship. If we started talking about worship, we could be here all day. I am passionate about worship. And why do I do seminars on worship? I realized many years ago that a lot of people don't understand worship. And when I say they don't understand worship, I was at a church, and at this church, the pastor kind of got in trouble because he changed the worship format. Oh. Mm-hmm. And so, the worship wars have been going on. So I decided to address that in many seminars as well.
Well, I like the fact that you're not bored. Your wife's not complaining. Huntley, would you get up and do something? So, and your daughters all know who their father is because you made a point in life to spend time with them. Amen. And that's a rich lesson for every dad out there as well. All right, so our time has quickly gone by. We've got CDs, we've got the book we talked about, got the seminars that we discussed, and I don't think you're doing any private lessons in your martial arts, so we won't get into that anymore. But we will let people know that they can find out all about you and everything that you're doing by going to the website huntlybrown.org, right?
Amen to that. That's correct.
All right. Always good to hang with you, and even better when I can hear you play. So thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you so much. Honored to be here.
Well, that's going to wrap up our program for today. As the sages have told us, grow in wisdom, think humbly of yourself, and love one another. And may it be so with you. Join me next time for more of Moving People Forward. I'm Mark Elfstrand.
Woof!